What's good, everybody? Remember 17 here, and we're breaking down head movement on UFC 5. So don't forget to like and subscribe on the video. So how does head movement work on UFC 5? On the UFC 5, much like UFC 4, there's stationary head movement with the block while stationary, moving with the head movement, and of course moving while holding block with said head movement, right? And what does that mean? Well, there's a couple of things there. With the head movement on these games, there's less vulnerability on minor slips. Major slips are easier but risky, and blocking while holding head movement costs more stamina. The more that you move to with your head movement, there's more vulnerability. So if you go into shots, that puts you at risk to take more damage. And this is something that a lot of the new players tend to do. So it's really important that you guys learn how to defend stuff stationary. So one of the first few things you guys are going to learn are slips. How to use a slip? Well, you take your right analog stick and it's going to be up or down. To practice your slips, you go into strike recording and you have the AI throw some straight shots, right? Something like a 1-2 from Sean Strickland over here. And you can also practice your ducks. And if you practice at the proper range, you can actually pull some of these. But for your slips, it's up and down. If you want to be able to duck, you go forward on the right analog stick towards your opponent, and then you go away for the pulls. You can also duck round strikes with head movement, such as hooks, head kicks, ducking roundhouses, all that crazy stuff, overhands when timed correctly. But be aware, if you're blocking while holding head movement, you take extra block damage. However, if you roll away from a strike, you still take damage, but the damage gets mitigated just a little bit, like if you were rolling away from the strike. And that's a key change that they've also added onto UFC 5 in comparison to UFC 4. Another thing is, too, you can pull on uppercuts and hooks. This isn't anything new, but it's something for the new players to know. You can back sway, going away with the right analog stick, and dodge uppercuts and hooks. And, of course, you can slip uppercuts as well. And the thing is, when it comes to slipping shots, you can chain head movement together. So you're not limited to just one course of action, right? So we'll have Sean Strickland go for this 1-2-3 combination, but I can chain my slip with my back sway. And the more that you initiate proper head movement, you're going to drain the stamina of your opponent, and that's going to open up some counters against them, which you guys can check out on Counter Striking Volume 1. You can create angles with head movement as well, but that's going to be on a separate video, another UFC 5 tutorial, and that's going to be called How to Pivot Lunge and Create Angles. So be on the lookout for that tutorial in the playlist. So another key thing with head movement, you do not want to have your back to the cage. The cage can get real sticky, and if your back is to the cage, you're going to be unable to pull, you risk taking more damage, and it's just not a great place to be. You want to avoid having your back to the cage at all costs. Not only does it become harder for you to use head movement when your back is to the cage, but you also suffer a reduction in power when your back is touching the cage. So be aware. This is not the place to be. You do not want to be here trying to dodge 3, 4, 5, 6 strikes. The consequences can be extremely dire, and this is the worst place for you guys to be. So circle out as much as you can with the left analog stick. Don't end up there. So with head movement, a couple weaknesses there. You are vulnerable to the legs when you're using head movement. So if you see an opponent using head movement a lot, you can attack them with leg kicks. If you're close enough, you can also attack them with body shots. Leg kicks tend to work the best in my opinion. That's just for me, for a lot of fighters that I use. But if you catch somebody pulling a lot, it's usually better to go and attack the body because the vulnerability opens up to the liver and you can deal a lot more damage there. So you can mix up those two threats together. Another thing is, too, if they mistime their head movement and their head is returning back to the center line, that is another issue with head movement, right? If you mistime it, you're going to suffer the negative consequences for it. So please go to practice mode. Go use the strike recording feature, and that is going to help you get better. Don't jump right away in UFC 5 into quick match or ranked championships. Utilize the strike recording features in practice mode, and then eventually you'll be able to do all the cool stuff. You can start ducking the head kicks when you see them coming. You can start pulling head kicks when you see them coming. As one of the top players on this game's franchise for quite some time, I cannot stress the importance of using the strike recording feature to getting better with your defense on the UFC series, and this is no different for UFC 5. So please, go use the strike recording feature, practice your head movement, practice chaining everything together, and once you finish the basic defenses with head movement, go along to the playlist, watch Counter Striking Volume 1, and you can start taking out your opponents in quicker fashion. Rev 17, I appreciate all of you. I'm out of here. Much love.